Many of the individuals who engineered our modern world shared a surprising trait. They never actually finished school. There is a specific term for someone who acquires complex knowledge outside a formal institution. It comes from the Greek autos, meaning self, and didaktos, meaning taught, the autodidact. Historically, choosing to learn entirely on your own was rarely a romantic pursuit. Prior to the 20th century, self-education was a grueling necessity, forced upon people by systemic poverty, enslavement, or extreme geographic isolation. It was an incredibly inefficient process. Without a teacher's roadmap or a structured curriculum, these isolated learners had to rely on relentless, blind trial and error to understand basic concepts. Yet, skipping the classroom came with a distinct advantage. Escaping the rigid instruction of academic institutions allowed these learners to connect ideas across vastly different disciplines, driven entirely by their own unguided curiosity. The combination of immense struggle and absolute intellectual freedom forged a highly specific type of problem solver. It produced the type of mind equipped to build the modern age. Take Leonardo da Vinci. Born out of wedlock in 15th century Italy, his social status denied him access to the prestigious universities of his time. Because he missed out on the strict academic conditioning that separated subjects into isolated silos, Da Vinci felt perfectly free to blur the lines between artistic expression and mechanical engineering. He applied his understanding of geometry to conceptualize physical machinery centuries ahead of its time, like this armored tank constructed with a defensive conical roof. Beneath it, he documented his mechanics in reverse handwriting, working entirely away from the peer review of Renaissance scholars. Unconstrained by traditional academic rules, Da Vinci was able to visualize physical solutions that classically trained thinkers couldn't even conceptualize. 400 years later, physicist Michael Faraday faced a similar institutional barrier. Born into severe poverty in London, he received only a basic education before being sent to work as a bookbinder's apprentice at age 14. Instead of simply binding the pages, Faraday read them. He absorbed scientific texts on chemistry and electricity during his shifts, and eventually used that knowledge to discover the complex principle of electromagnetic induction. Across the Atlantic, American inventor Thomas Edison applied that exact same approach. Homeschooled after only a few months of formal class, he bypassed theoretical physics entirely in favor of pure, brute force physical iteration. His laboratory in Menlo Park was a chaotic testing ground. Surrounded by raw materials and custom glassware, Edison and his team conducted thousands of systematic trial-and-error experiments to produce the phonograph and a practical incandescent light bulb. A few decades later, Orville and Wilbur Wright bypassed the era's highly educated physicists to solve human flight. They didn't hold university degrees in aeronautics. They learned practical mechanics by running a bicycle repair shop in Ohio. After pushing through years of failed glides, their hands-on methodology put a powered biplane into the air over Kitty Hawk in 1903. In each of these cases, obsessive, hands-on iteration and a willingness to endure repeated failure consistently outpaced the theoretical boundaries set by formal academia. Self-education proved highly effective for engineering, but it also served as a critical mechanism for human survival and political liberation. Frederick Douglass was born into slavery in Maryland and legally forbidden from attending school. He taught himself to read in secret, bribing local children for lessons with pieces of bread, and used that hard-won literacy to author narratives forming the ideological foundation of the abolitionist movement. Abraham Lincoln had less than one single year of formal classroom schooling. To become a lawyer, he borrowed textbooks and absorbed legal theory by firelight, building his entire rhetorical strategy through solitary study. That self-directed study produced the legal logic behind the Emancipation Proclamation. Navigating intense constitutional challenges during a civil war required immense ethical and legal conviction. Lincoln executed this order using the knowledge he had gathered entirely on his own. In the hands of these figures, literacy and legal study became weapons for dismantling systemic oppression. The landscape of learning shifted drastically during the Industrial Revolution. The new economy subtly required a massive, literate workforce capable of operating complex machinery. Governments responded by enacting compulsory education laws. schools were designed to mass-produce basic literacy, standardized skills, and obedience for a rapidly growing industrial sector. By the mid-20th century, policies like the GI Bill pushed enrollment higher, expanding access to higher education and cementing the university system as the standard. Today, this infrastructure provides an incredible baseline advantage. Modern students are guaranteed a foundation in reading and mathematics, tools that historical autodidacts had to fight and bleed to acquire. While this institutional system solved the historical problem of broad access, its rigid standardization has created a dangerous lack of agility in a fast-moving world. Traditional curriculums require years of committee approvals and peer reviews, meaning they move far too slowly to keep pace with the modern technological frontier. So the autodidact adapted. Learners went digital, leveraging global internet access to bypass outdated institutions and source cutting-edge information instantly. This chart shows exactly how software developers are acquiring their skills today. 80% of current tech professionals learn to code primarily through online resources, tutorials, and forums, rather than in a university classroom. This has created a new standard for modern learning. Students now use formal schooling for a stable baseline, then pivot to digital resources by night to master technical skills not yet in the curriculum. While the institution provides the necessary foundation, it is the persistent, self-directed seeker who ultimately pushes the boundaries of what is possible.